Hello?
Hey, yo, Cutter, what up, man?
What's up, APT? What's going on?
Yo, man, I got a problem.
What's that?
I got these two girls I'm seeing, right?
Uh-huh.
They're both just so good to me. I can't decide which one I should be
Man,
with.
I'm going through the same thing, man. I got two girls that'll do anything for me.
Oh, boy.
It might sound crazy, baby, believe me. Got two hot ladies, they both loving me. And I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. But I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. Yo, I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. I can't have them both, so I gotta choose one. Yo, I got a hot chick living on the north side. I got a hot chick living on the south side. I got a problem cause I can't tell who to choose. They both seem like they both down to ride or die. My north side chick love to cook a brother grub. My south side chick love to give me back rubs. My north side chick down to pay a brother's tab. My south side chick always down for touch and grab. My north side chick knows how to ride the stick. My south side chick love to drive me in the whip. My north side chick loves to get all freaky. Yeah. My south side chick loves to get all freaky. Woo! They both like dress up and don't give a crap if their hair gets messed up. This is my confession. I'm just about ready to settle down, but I can't decide who I'm supposed to choose now. Oh! It might sound crazy, baby, believe me. Got two hot ladies, they both loving me. And I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. But I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. Yo, I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. I can't have them both, so I gotta choose one. Oh!
I got a hot chick living on the east side. I got a hot chick living on the west side. I got an issue, I don't know who to choose. They like me, and I like them both too. My east side chick is a white girl. My west side chick is a black girl. My east side chick likes to have sex. My west side girl got some big breasts. My east side chick freaky as she wanna be. My west side chick always protecting me. My east side chick take away all my stress. My west side chick, she don't take no mess. They both so mature, they both so gorgeous. I like both of them cause they not boring. But let me slow it down, I can only choose one. I can't have them both, so I gotta pick one. It might sound crazy, baby, believe me. Got two hot ladies, they both loving me. I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. But I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. Yo, I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. I can't have them both, so I gotta choose one.
Hey, yo, I tried to be a player, but the truth is, a brother never ever been this ruthless. And if they ever find out I would do this, I'd probably end up with a broken jaw, toothless.
I used to do the same thing a long time ago, but it's time for me to let that player stuff go. Cause I got two hot girls just to choose from. Yo, how you gonna decide which one to lose, son?
Man, both girls got different stuff about in my life, but I gotta dump one tonight, cause it just seems right.
I know what you mean, I want both girls in my life, but it would be wrong to have two girls for a wife.
Oh man, what are we supposed to do?
When you got two good girls, how do you choose?
I don't know, it shouldn't be as hard as this.
And if we choose the wrong one,
We'll all be pissed. Oh! It might sound crazy, baby, believe me. Got two hot ladies, they both loving me. And I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. But I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. Yo, I gotta choose one, man, I can't choose one. I can't have them both, so I gotta choose one. Oh!
Yeah. We're gonna have to dump one of them, man.
I know, man, it's gonna be hard, yo.
Well, I don't know. You figure out who you gonna get rid of.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna have my conversation on this side, man.
Alright, man. I hate to be the heartbreaker, though.
I'll call you tomorrow, see what's up.
That sounds good. Take care, man.
Alright. Peace.
Thank y'all so much for coming in. Thank y'all for joining us tonight on Kicking It with Kirk.
Thanks for tuning in to the Introvert Dating Success Show.
Welcome to our second edition of Diversity in Lighting.
Tonight's video is super off the cuff.
The first question of the day plain and simple, is marriage hard?
We're going to be answering a question from a guy. His current girlfriend has been communicating with a toxic ex-boyfriend.
How do we get BIPOCs into these positions of power?
I want to talk about performative activism and why it's so harmful to the Black Lives Matter movement.
So let's dive in it, man.
Revolution. If you don't like what we doing, if you don't want to rock with the NFAC, that's cool. Form your own militia.
There is a playbook for this shit. It's not like we have to create it from scratch just because now we're all digital.
We need people who are there on the computer and off of it. You have to be there for the good and the bad. You can't just be there when it's most convenient for you.
If they was really about what they was about, they would have been at all the formations.
But you need to make sure also that Black ideas and Black people creating culture get funded.
It's not just who we see on stage, it's those that they point to at their curtain call.
Listen, have the conversation, be humble, admit what mistakes were made.
These chat rooms can go, boy. This thing has me rolling. Somebody did say, what about them women who be proposing to their men? Should the men take their last name? Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you want to be a part of this fight, you're going to have to learn to be uncomfortable.
Revolution.
It's the Introvert Dating Success Podcast, the show for introverted men that's all about learning how to attract beautiful women and still get your precious alone time. And now, here's your host, dating coach and fellow introvert, Harry Wilmington.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Introvert Dating Success Show, courtesy of introvertdatingsuccess.com. I'm your host as always, Harry Wilmington. This is the show, and that is the website where you can go to learn how to date as your authentic introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. I've had a very interesting weekend, and so the main topic of today's show is going to be, I'm going to talk about the number one dating tip that I have for you if you're trying to date women that are out of your league. But that particular one stems from various conversations I had this weekend that were fascinating, interesting. And then there was a Reddit question that a woman actually asked that was talking about this thing of when guys approach her and say, oh, well, you're just so out of my league, like how she feels about that, and then wondering why guys do that. So that's the main topic. I do have some other things up on the board that might be possible topics depending on how long this one goes in particular. But either way, it should be an interesting show. And as always, if you want to hear more of these shows, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com. You can join us on protestparty.tv every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to get in on the chats in the chat room. And of course, if you're looking for more help in your dating life, you can go to the website to check out the ebooks, the various programs that I have. Starting next week on the 26th, I'll be dropping a new program called Smart Digital Dating, which is basically an A to Z step-by-step guide for you guys out there that want to get better at online dating and phone app dating. I have the tools and the tips that you can use to make your dating life skyrocket by online dating. So that's coming out next week. And just a lot of great content available at the website and at protestparty.tv as well. If you like the advice and stuff that you're hearing, you can leave a tip via the tip jar tab at the website or on whatever tab is on the protestparty.tv page as well. All right. So I had an interesting weekend, and I had a conversation with the woman in particular that I met that the more I thought about the conversation we had, it really just kind of spoke back to some of the stuff I've talked about on here. And so I will get into that. So I went to a party this weekend. It was my friend's birthday. And so she had an Alice in Wonderland themed party. And it was in Hollywood. It was all outside. Everybody's wearing masks and social distancing as best as they could. But it was like, people dress up as the characters from Alice in Wonderland and they go and get served. So it was me and my friend, who's a woman, and 6 of her friends, all of who else were also women. So I was the only guy at this party, it is what it is. But so when I was there was one woman in particular. She sat next to me. It was like 2-4 top tables. So she sat next to me. And so at some point we start conversing and talking and getting to know each other. And inevitably she asked me, oh, so what do you do? And so when women ask me that question these days, honestly, I really don't like to tell women the actual work that I do, which is I give guys, specifically introverted guys, dating advice on how to be more self-confident, how to be less anxious, and how to be able to approach women in effective ways. That's how I try to word it. Because if I say something like I'm a dating coach, there can be either a negative connotation or I get the reaction of like, oh, you must be like Hitch, which I always hear because I'm Black and I give dating advice. It's like, oh, I must be trying to be like Hitch. And that's really not the case. And I've already done my rant about that movie in particular, but I have to. So when I told this woman, oh, I said, you know what, I'm going to just pull it out. I will just tell her what it is I do and see how she reacts. And so I said, I am a dating coach for men and I give advice and I try to help guys become better. And her response was, oh, like Hitch, as always. So anyway, so at that point, whenever I tell women this, what usually happens is I get a litany of questions about the things that I teach guys and the reason they do this is because they want to judge the advice that I'm giving and see if it's accurate. And then more often than not, they're going to try to push against like, if that advice that I'm giving is actually an effective thing to give to guys. Now, this is despite the fact that they are not guys and they don't have the experience that I have of being a guy and trying the wrong things and then trying some other stuff that to them, it may sound like it shouldn't work, but it actually does, you know? But anyway, so there was a point in the conversation after we left the party, we went back to my friend's apartment complex. And so she was continuing to talk to me and ask me questions. So at some point she was like, okay, so I want you to ask me a question about the dating advice that you would give. And then I'll let you know if that's accurate or not, which is another thing that I don't like because I already know where this is going to go, which is I'm going to say something and you're going to say, I'm not like that and blah, blah, blah. And so I said, okay, I'll give you like a basic thing that I've said on this show several times and that I tell guys. I say, okay, so for example, I will tell a guy to go on a date, have a really, really good time, and then do not hit the girl up for 4 days. And I say the reason that I do that is because I want them to be able to give the girl time to really like just sit in the fact that she enjoyed your time and company, that she had a good time on the date and that she wants that again, but you're not giving that to her so easily that it's going to be a thing where you start looking needy and desperate because you're off having some other life that she doesn't know about, that if she likes you and has high interest in you is going to want to be a part of, regardless of when you contact her back. So I say that, and her response was, oh, well, you know, I'm different because if I had a guy that took me out and then he waited 4 days, I wouldn't talk to him anymore. Now, as I've said on this show and previous shows, this plays out to the thing that I've mentioned time and time again, which is that, well, I mentioned that once or twice, but it's this thing of like, women are all the same in that they all think they are different, okay? Meaning that they do not want to be singled out, or they don't want to be clumped in with all the other women that you could possibly be talking to. And they don't want to believe that they don't have any control over a particular response they're going to have when you do stuff. Because if you say you do this thing and this works on even 95% of women, they're going to want to try to point out that they're the 5% that this isn't going to work on. And the funny thing is, I've heard this response from every woman. So the fact that they even respond all the same is in and of itself ironic. But here's the thing. Women have to think that they would not be privy to falling for these tactics, okay? Because if they do believe that, then it hits against the idea that she's different or special from other people. And the reality is, it's like for women, the best practice is you don't want to kill the fantasy. You don't want them to get out of their headspace and think that the things that you're doing are pre-planned in advance and that this is the same thing you're doing for one person is working for every other girl that you hit on, okay? And what I find funny about that, though, is that since like the young age, women have been taught all about us. They've been taught about what we like, what we don't like, what sexual positions we want. They have whole magazine articles that are dedicated to, oh, these are the 10 ways that you can really like seduce a man in bed and get him clamoring for you. And so I'm looking at this like, oh, so you're saying all guys fall for this. Your article is definitively saying all men fall for these particular things in bed. So there's no problem with them thinking that we are all the same in various ways and that there are going to be certain things they can do to all men to attract us. But yet, if you point that out to them, they don't want that same thing. They need to be special. They need to be different. So this girl said, okay, well, yeah, if a guy did that, then I just wouldn't talk to him. I think he's playing games or whatnot. And there's a little of that could be true. But I also think about, what if she legit went on a date with a guy that's like a corporate guy, or that, travels around the world doing meetings and stuff like that. So you're going to tell me, if this guy takes you out, shows you a good time, and then he has to go away for 4 days to travel, to do a business meeting, or he has to go out somewhere where he maybe is not able to have a phone, that if he gets back and calls you in 4 or 5 days and you had high interest in him, that you're going to pick up the phone and be like, I'm glad you called me, but you know what? It's been 4 days and I'm not talking to you anymore. Click. And so the example I always use for women is, okay, let's say, we'll use like a celebrity example. Let's say somebody like Idris Elba. Idris Elba takes you on a date and you have a good time. And then he drops you off, says, hey, I had a great time. Hope I talk to you soon. And then he goes off for like 5 days and just doesn't call them back. Do you think when Idris Elba calls this girl back, that she's going to be like, well, Idris, you waited 5 or 4 days to call me, so bye-bye, click? It's not going to happen. Why? Because this is a very, very important quote you guys need to remember, okay? High interest cuts everything. Every excuse she would ever have for every other guy about, oh, he needs to call me at this time, he needs to take me on this kind of date, he needs to spend this kind of money, all that stuff goes away when she has high interest. So what your job is to find women that are highly interested. And one of the ways you test that, wait for it, in this example, is by going on a date, showing her a good time, and then going away for a few days. So that's just one example. But with this particular girl, that's an example that I use, whereby, the call thing, whatever, and she was like, no, blah. So again, you can't ruin the fantasy. I like to think of it like this. I'm here in Hollywood, and I've been on TV shows, okay? I've been on Grey's Anatomy. I've been in the Muppet movie. I've been in various things as a background actor. In fact, I was actually in the movie with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, the Star Wars. I forget the name of it right now. It leaves my head. But the point is, I was actually sitting in the same row during the award scene that Lady Gaga was in. I was like right there in the same row. And they were very, very lovely people. But the point is, so I will tell people these things, or they'll see me on TV, right? People that like are from, because I'm from Virginia. So they'll be back at home watching. It's like, oh my God, I just saw you on a TV show. Oh, I saw you in this movie. This is that. That's so great. That's messy. And they're thinking it's like this big, like, how did I do that? It's this big like deal that I was even able to get on the set in the first place. So they have an idea in their head of how big of a star I must be, or what kind of position I must have in order to do this thing. So when I go to them and say, it's not hard, they have background services in LA. All you got to do is sign up for one. It's like X amount of dollars a month, and they'll just put you on set. What does that now do to their idea of what I'm doing? It kills it completely. It goes from this being this great thing that I just happened to get picked and whatever, to like, oh, it's like a system. You literally just like, you plug and play and you're able to get on these sets. It's not as exciting anymore. And so women are the same way. When you start to tell them, oh yeah, I made it a point to wait 4 days before I called you. I made it a point to take on these kind of dates specifically. I made it a point to wait until the second date to actually kiss you, because I knew that this would happen and have a better effect. Like, that now ruins the fantasy for women. So you don't want to go around necessarily telling women this stuff, because they're going to argue about it. And if you ask your women friends, hey, so I've heard from this guy that this thing works on women, do you think it would work on you? They're going to lie to you, because they don't want to admit it, that it works. Now, if you ask in a roundabout way, like if you say to a woman, hey, have you ever gone out with a guy that like waited 4 or 5 days after the first date to call you? Then you'll get a more realistic answer, because it's based on previous history, where she can say, well, there was that one guy, but that was a special case, because she had high interest in him. So for you guys that are listening to the show and you're learning new stuff, and you're reading my stuff and you're like, oh, this sounds kind of interesting, I want to test it out, or I want to ask other women if what Harry's saying is true, you'd be better off asking other guys. At least if you ask other guys that are experienced in the dating game like myself, or somebody that's not me, then you can get somebody that will say like, either Harry's stuff is bull crap, or you'll say, oh, you know what, there's this stuff is actually accurate, because I've done X, Y, and Z, and this thing actually works. But if you ask women, you're not going to get the right answer, and you're going to be led astray by the wrong stuff, by women who'll say stuff like, oh, no, I want a guy to call me the next day. Matter of fact, he should call me the same night of the date to make sure that I still had a good time. And as I've taught you guys here, that doesn't really show confidence, but hey, you can try to follow what she says. It's just not going to work for you. So anyway, but I bring that up because another thing that guys will do is in the process of all this, as they're learning things and as they're starting to get better at stuff, they might come across women that they're doing this stuff on that they realize, oh, you know what? She makes a little more money than me, or she's in a higher position in her job or in life than me. I don't know if I'm in her league. And so I kind of want to talk about that. I want to talk about this idea of being in a woman's league. And then I want to get to like my number one tip. Okay. So first, there's a post that I saw on Reddit that I thought was really interesting. It was actually from a girl. And the post heading says, guys, if a girl tells you she is into you and you think she is beautiful, tell her that. Don't tell her she is out of your league. So we already know where we're going with this, but I'm going to read on. So the post goes, this might be a rant, but it needs to be said. It's as though every single guy I date tells me he feels I'm out of his league. This is not endearing. I don't know if people think it comes off as a compliment, but it hurts more than anything else. It makes me feel like either I don't belong with anyone or I'm your trophy. Why do men do this? I need some perspective. And so I looked at that and like, this is an example of, I don't think a lot of times guys really get the other side of the reaction that women are having internally when they do or say certain things to them. And there are a lot of guys that write to me that'll say things like, so I met this woman and she's like everything I dreamed of, but she does X, Y, and Z. And what do I need to do in order to get her? Because I feel like she's possibly out of my league. What do I need to do? Because she's makes more money, she's got a better job, and I don't know like what I'm supposed to do. And it really does speak to like the self-esteem from a guy in particular that just thinks that everyone is so, all these women are just on such high pedestals and that he's so beneath them. And my reality has been, I thought that way at one point where like, if women had better jobs or made more money, or, you know, whatever, that meant I could not talk to them or I could not get them. And it wasn't until I moved to California and experienced various levels of things that I realized that that's not true. So for example, there was a moment in time for like 2 months here in California where I was in between apartments. I just given up one. And then there was another one I was going to move into, but they were still kind of working on it. So I ended up staying on somebody's couch for like 2 months, like near the beach, but I was on somebody's couch paying like $700 a month and had no room of my own. And that was that. So you could say in that situation, oh, he doesn't seem like I was working at a sandwich shop. I was working at a sandwich shop and living on somebody's couch. All right. And you would think to yourself, most guys would think like, well, if I'm in this position, I don't really have a lot of money coming in and I don't have my housing situation straight. So I shouldn't like try to hit on any girl. And during this time, I was dating a very attractive looking lawyer person who made $100,000 something plus dollars a year and enjoyed taking me out to dinners and lunches and just enjoyed my company. So that dating experience taught me that, oh, so it really isn't about my position in life so much as it is whatever my thought process is about myself, okay? So with that said, here is the number one tip that you need to dating women that are out of your league, okay? It's this. It's that there is no woman that is out of your league. No women out there are women that you can't date. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to say like, well, that's not true because what if like she's rich and like isn't a millionaire? And what if you're like down here and you got like a job at a sandwich shop or you're not making a lot of money? One, I would like to argue that and counterpoint that by saying that there are a lot of celebrities now that got married to people that were rich and had money and had fame and had like prestige and had a good place in life that they divorced them despite how much money they had. Now, granted, in California, particularly, it's a half and half state. So they're going to walk away with some money. But the point is all that money couldn't keep their spouse with them, you know? And so this concept of like being out of a woman's league is one that guys really need to get rid of because it really does boil down to like, it boils down to a few factors. And this is where it gets back to the whole thing about the thing that women are all the same and that they all think they're different. They all think they're different, but reality is most women, regardless of their station in life, again, whether they're rich, poor, old, young, whatever, typically fall for, well, I don't want to say fall for because that sounds like manipulative, but they typically are attracted by men that show the same kind of traits. So for example, a big one is always confidence. We hear that time and time again, women want a guy that's confident. So whether I'm confident with a poor lady or confident with a rich woman that has a big mansion, whatever, that confidence is going to look better to a woman than a rich guy who's slumped over and is walking around all sloggy and doesn't really have confidence in himself. So That's a trait, a guy that looks like a go-getter, a guy that, might have some kind of build that indicates he can protect her. These are things that the majority of women want to have in a guy. So if you're showing certain character traits and you're doing certain things that, if you're able to research those things and find out what those things are that attract women generally, you will have a wide pool of women to choose from versus not working on yourself and not being that confident and sitting there like thinking, oh my God, I got to like say the right thing. I got to do the right thing, because that's the kind of attitude that can actually like make a woman not want to talk to you and not want to date you, And it's sad because like this woman saying like she's always being heard, being told that oh, I'm out of your league, I can't, whatever. But most women, like women that we would consider in this society to be like 10 out of 10s, a lot of them are single in part because there's all these guys walking around and they see her beauty. And they, as guys, admittedly, we equate beauty with she must have it all put together. Like if she looks hot, her makeup's done well, her hair's done well, and she's walking with, upward or whatever, we just automatically assume, yep, she's overly confident. She must be out of my league. And you'd be surprised at how many women walk around with that as their facade, as their front. And they got a lot of other stuff going on. There was a girl I dated one time. She was super duper pretty. I think I've talked about it on the show before, but she was super duper pretty. She has a job working in like the veterans at the VA or whatever, makes $110,000 a year. And I thought she was the most gorgeous thing on the planet. This chick done had a boob job, and she had double D's to start with. She got them reduced and then got it added back in because she felt some kind of way about herself. She'd had lipo done a couple of times. She had lip injections a couple of times. She wanted to get her lady parts bleached because she thought they were like a bit too dark. And I'm, when we were hooking up, I'm looking at like, this is fine. This is nothing that you need to be working on at all. This is just, but she felt some kind of way about herself. But people seeing her out and about would think, oh, she's so pretty, I can't get with her. She's blah, 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 blah. And she's sitting there being like so self-conscious about herself and how she felt and how she compares to other people. And this is going to be a sad thing to say, but unfortunately it works to your advantage. A lot of women out there have things about themselves that they just don't like. And because they have that in their head and they're always looking at their flaws and what they can fix and what they need to work on or whatever, they never truly feel like they're at a high league. So when you come along and tell them this part of it, it's like they're thinking like, what is he talking about? I'm just a regular person and I want a regular guy to treat me well and, be a little bolder than me because I'm already feeling some kind of subconsciousness. I don't need my guy to also feel subconscious. But yeah, when you come to these girls and say that, like, you're not doing yourself any favors. And then it's like, they're thinking like, I must be so, all these guys are thinking I'm so great that I must not deserve anybody. And so now looking like, so are sixes and sevens the ones that are only going to get people? Like, why can't I get something like that? And then you don't even know if she views herself as a 9 or 10. You're projecting and putting that onto her. Oh, I think you're so this, and I think you're out of my league that, and you have no idea what this chick is actually thinking or feeling about herself. Okay. But if going in, like, and again, it's not a viewpoint that I like to have, but unfortunately, like I said, this is something that kind of helped me start to be on a level playing field. It's like, because, and only because I've experienced so much where I've met women and then you get into relationships with them and you find out, oh, they have all these flaws, whether they're jealous of other females or whether, they don't really think they have their parents' approval of stuff or whatever. So when I started meeting women as I got to get older, I started to realize, okay, when you go into a situation and meet a woman for the first time, the first thought you should have outside of, oh, she's pretty is, okay, but like, what's beneath that? Like, what things is she going to be insecure about? What things is she going to try to point out as flaws? How is she going to try to interact with me in a way that's going to like, indicate that she actually feels negatively about herself? And these are things women do where they'll be like, oh yeah, like, I know, just it's a silly little thing I do. It's just so stupid. That lets you know on some level that she views herself in a light that's probably based on how other people viewed her, but like, oh, she thinks that she's stupid for doing this, or she thinks she doesn't look as good for doing that or whatever. And you start to realize like, oh, like she has some insecurities. And that by default, it starts to like make you realize like, oh, she's not really up here. She's kind of like, you might view yourself as right here. And she's like actually right here. So now you're a little bit closer to the realistic situation of like, you guys actually do have a lot more in common than you think, because she might be a 10 in the looks department, but you might be a 9 or 10 in confidence level. And for women, they're going to judge that more severely than other things. Now, again, I got to stress that this does not mean that women are not looking at your financial situation, your life station, et cetera. Like those things are factored in. But a big part of what makes a woman's decision about you, the one that she decides to choose you or not, is those things that aren't so tangible. I know as guys, we like to think like, okay, if I just get like the right car, if I get the right kind of house, if I get the right kind of job and the right kind of money, then boom, it's going to be on and popping. And again, there are people that have those things, but because they don't have confidence and because they're not willing to like work on that, and they, because this is what happens. Okay, so when you don't have confidence, it's not that the not confidence part is the worst thing, but it's the other things that result of not having confidence. So by you not having confidence, it means you're going to think she's always going to leave you. So you're going to be jealous. You're going to be that needy guy that's going to wander around all the time. You're going to be the guy that's like crying to her about your emotions. Well, I just thought that you would do this thing and you're going to have all these unrealistic expectations of things because you're not confident in yourself. And you're going to be more attached to the outcome of things than you should be. This is why I tell you guys, it's really good to practice being detached to outcomes, meaning how a person treats you or how they respond to you when you ask them out or on a date, whatever, is not going to affect your overall being. It's not going to affect your overall level of happiness. And it's not going to affect the confidence in yourself. And I think a lot of guys, when they come up against women that are out of their league, they automatically feel, well, if I try something and it doesn't work, my life's over. Boom, that's it. I can't handle the idea of this hot, super hot, well-positioned babe saying no to me because, oh my God, this is my last shot. And I'm just like, and again, just all that's like internally in your head, man. It's like, it's all this internal stuff that we tell ourselves in our brains that are just like, why is it that you're being your worst blocker? There's nobody there C blocking you but you. So you see a hot girl and you're thinking you want to approach, but she's too hot. And so you're not going to do that chick. Okay, fine. But as guys, we're typically going to find a lot of women pretty. So you're going to see a lot of pretty women and not want to hit on any of them because they're all out of your league. And then you're going to look at girls that are, we'll say, not as attracted to you personally. And you're not going to try to get with them, but they're going to probably try to get with you. But that's going to give you that's going to make you think, oh, like these other girls want me, then you're going to feel like you're settling, and then you're going to not be happy at that. So it's just a mean cycle, man. So understand that while you're looking at women thinking you're out of their league, a lot of them, unbeknownst to you, are looking at you thinking that you're out of their league. And I've experienced this personally, whereby I was told that women that I didn't even know were attracted to me because I was thinking they were out of my league. They were thinking, man, I want to date him, but I don't know if I can approach him, and I don't know if he would reject me or what I should say or what I should do. So there's a lot of back and forth going here where you're thinking they're out of your league and they're thinking that they're out of your league simply because you will not approach them. So you gotta, again, as the guys, we're expected to be the ones to start off the initial conversation, to do the approach, to give to them and say, hey, what it is, And so, yes, while there are some women out there that when you approach them, they're going to be mean about it, or they're going to be like, get away from me or whatever. That's not really the majority of women. The majority of women are going to be willing to like have an open dialogue with you if you approach them. So, and I think a lot of times guys get in their head about, again, and I've talked about this before, whereby if you approach a woman, that must mean it's this big event where you're going to try to like marry her or whatever. And you put all this like energy into this thing having to work. And the reality is like, just start a normal conversation. It's not hard to start a normal conversation. Now, I know as an introvert, you might be like, well, that's hard for me to do. How do I initiate a conversation? How do I approach women? How do I, know what that thing is? And that is also you, once again, being in your head. And I used to do the same thing where like, I just didn't know. I didn't know what to say to women or how to approach them or what to do, or like if they're going to react a certain way. And I just made it a point to like come up with a list of things. Like, okay, here's a list of good conversation openers that could be effective. And I actually talk about that. I have a whole video training devoted to that on my website. You go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, you can see it. It's really geared more towards online dating, but it'll work in social situations also, whereby it's like, you can approach women and start these conversations in ways that aren't sleazy. And that's the other thing too. We have in our brains now, when I approach women, I'm going to be seen as sleazy. I'm going to be seen as bothersome. I'm going to be seen as that guy that's just disgusting to her. And these are all lies we are telling ourselves, while that woman over there is sitting there thinking like, why isn't he approaching? Why is he just sitting there staring? And he's like, he's a cute enough guy, but he's just seeming to not, he's walking away. So you got to get this thought out of your head that women are out of your league. That is absolutely not true. And again, I speak to you guys in generalities and in probabilities because I want you to understand that the majority of women do actually want a man that's nice and kind and caring and would not mind those kind of conversations. Will there be exceptions to the rule out there that will be like, well, I'm just disgusted that you came up to me, or how dare you? Yes, there will be. But the good thing is those are not women you want to date anyway. If you go up to a woman and say, hey, how's your day going? Or, hey, well, where you heading to, whatever, and they bark back at you, they just did you a favor. They just helped you out and helped you recognize that you should not be trying to pursue this thing any further, okay? And you need that. Any rejections in life that you get, stop taking them as negative things and take them as, this taught me something, this is not the person for me. And not every woman is going to be for you, and that is fine. But that does not mean that you cannot try for different women at what you would consider to be various levels. So whether you're hitting on a woman that lives at home with her parents still, or you're hitting on a woman that's the head of a Fortune 500 company, certain traits are going to apply to attracting the majority of women out there, and that's what you're going for. So don't be afraid next time you see that woman on the street that's like, oh, she's dressed up to the nines, and you're like attracted. Be prone to go up to her. Or if you're a very nervous guy, do what I do and do online and phone app dating, because they're dressed very nicely on the app, but you get to actually get to kind of learn about them in advance. You get to see what their likes and dislikes are. You can see their pictures, which are indicative of the kind of things that they're into, and that can give you some things that you can now reach to talk about. And from there, you can reach out to the woman and with a question or a thing of whatever, if you match with her, and then you can start a dialogue that is going to allow you to see through the course of the conversation, you know what? This woman's actually not out of my league. This woman's actually kind and caring. And another thing too, I found with online dating in particular, you don't always necessarily know what the woman's station in life is. So you might start talking to a woman and she might have just put on her profile like, oh, I just want a guy that's kind and caring, and oh, I enjoy going to picnics and whatever. Not knowing that she has $1 million in the bank because she didn't advertise it on the thing. So you might start talking to a woman comfortably on these dating apps or whatever, and then you meet her in person, and then you find out, oh, this chick's loaded. But you're not as nervous because you already had a conversation to where you were already on a level playing field with her just based on your conversation, learning about her likes and dislikes and what she was into. That allowed you to feel like you could be on even plane. And now you find out she has all this money. Now that's kind of like, oh, she has money. That's great. But I also know we match all these other levels to where I'm good. Okay. So that's why I highly, highly recommend trying to do phone app dating and digital dating, because for introverts in particular, it is really a great way to bypass some of these feelings, such as, is this woman out of my league or not? And so that's why I have a program coming out next week that is all about that. So like I said, next week on Wednesday, the 26th, most likely I'll probably do, when I do the show next week, I'll be talking about a little bit about the program, what's in it, what you can learn from it. But yeah, dude, you should really get on that now. Just start getting on digital dating apps and web pages and stuff like that, and really start kind of getting accustomed to dating that way. Cause it really is a good way to get past a lot of these blocks that you may have trying to approach women. But yeah, no woman's out of your league, dude. Like I said, on some levels, women are the same in the sense that a lot of stuff that attracts them, if you do those things, it's going to work to your advantage, regardless of what level you think she's on. So that was a lot of talking. So now I'm going to go through the chats real quick and just kind of read up on what people have been saying on here, because I like when you guys are in the chat. Somebody talking about chicken. I'm so hungry. I haven't had lunch yet today. Let's see here. And by the way, you guys can always ask dating questions in the chat stream. So I love, one of the things I love doing is actually helping you guys out and answering dating questions. For the ladies that are watching this chat that want questions about either how guys think about dating, or why I say certain things that should work, or even questions about why they think these certain things I talk about do work on them, you can ask whatever you want in the chat. And if it's a good enough question, I will be more than happy to answer it on the show as well. Let's see. Raj says half these people have COVID and will still go out on a date. Oh my God. Yeah. Online dating has jumped, I think 70% or so since COVID started, because people ultimately want that connection. And that's the thing too, for all these women that you think are out of your league that you didn't talk to, I got news for you. They're at home right now and they're single and they're lonely and they're wondering how is it they haven't had a man up to this point. And that woman is now on a phone app, on probably Bumble and Hinge and OkCupid and Plenty of Fish, and they're on there talking to guys. Maybe they might not even be going out, but they're on there talking to guys because they legit need that connection and they're tired of being single. And this is one of those moments in time where people start to realize, man, being single and not having somebody in your life sucks, because when you can't go out or you can't go to the normal places you would go to meet people, it really becomes very, very lonely. Now, again, as an introvert, I've actually been thriving during this time in terms of dating, because I've been doing online and phone app dating, and I know how to work that system. So I've had it work to my advantage where I haven't had a drought. But there are single women at home that are out of your league that would be happy to be dating you, if only to have conversation and good sex. Like, real talk, all this money stuff, all this position stuff, when it comes down to it, if you work right now as a Postmates driver or a DoorDash person or a fast food person, the fact that you still have a job, you are eons above these other guys that were probably chasing her that don't have money coming in now. So think about that. Continuing on here, let's see what else we got. The chats here. Let's see here. Yeah, you lose 100% of the women you don't get at. Man, let me tell you, I've to this day, I think about all the women that I missed out on because I was introverted, but I was also kind of shy. And a lot of, again, boiled down to not having confidence. I just was not confident that women would want to date me, or that if I tried certain things, that they would see it as like being a shady guy, or they wouldn't want to like date somebody that they knew that they were doing these things to get them. None of it true. I've told girls that once I've started dating them like a little bit longer term, I'll go back and say, okay, this is, for example, like why I waited this long. This is why this, X, Y, and Z. And at that point, they're just like, oh my God, but they're already in it. I've already got their hearts on lock. So at that point, you can say some stuff like that, and it is what it is. But yeah, but I also find too, like, girls like to do the thing where if I tell them, for example, I'm a dating coach, they'll be like, later on, like, oh, well, if we get into an argument, it'll be like, oh, well, aren't you a dating coach? Shouldn't you know, blah, 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 blah. And those are the girls that I dump right away. Like, you're not going to get on me for the job that I do, because as far as I know, I'm providing a service to guys that were used to be like me, that didn't date that well, and that were introverted and didn't know how to come out of their shell. So if you're going to use that to now mock me, then you're not a woman I need to be with. And that's the thing you need to look out for, guys, because let's say you get with a girl that is out of your league. You might find there are some red flags and or personality traits that she has that aren't going to gel with you. And this is why you never want to put another person above you, because realistically, we're all human. And there's going to be a point where you're going to mess up, but also she's going to mess up. And if you have them on a pedestal, you're not going to have the eye to see that, oh, this girl's actually doing stuff that is not for the benefit of my life or for the relationship. I got to get the heck out of here. And you got to be a guy that is willing to walk away. The more you become a guy that is detached to outcomes and that you are actually willing to walk away should things not be going your way, then women will actually gain more respect for you. And now you will be a guy that they hope and pray they can get with, because you will seem like a guy that is out of her league, and she will be so grateful when you decide to date her. But it starts with you having to build up the confidence that you need to be able to have that station in life, because it's not something you can fake. Like, you can, in the beginning, you're going to, and in the course of trying to build your confidence, you're going to do things that feel unnatural and feel like you're faking it. And some women are going to be able to tell, like, this guy's faking it. But the more you do it, it'll become a natural part of who you are. And then that confidence will just come through to where it won't be faked. And women will be able to tell, like, oh, this guy's like got confidence in spades, and I might not be as confident. Let me hang out with him because he's a confident guy, which means he has the confidence to be able to lead me, and we're going to have a good time together. Somebody said, just want to have good conversations. Yeah, man. It's like, and it's funny too, because like, I know as guys, we a lot of times harp on like trying to find somebody that is going to want to have, good sex with us and stuff like that. But really, like, I find the best parts of my relationships are like the ones where, we've hooked up and then afterwards we're able to just sit there and talk for like an hour and a half. Like, because as an introvert, it is very hard to find somebody that after 10 or 15 minutes, the conversation doesn't just die. Or that you're not sitting there thinking like, man, I got to think of something to say to this person. Now they're almost done with their sentence. I got to think of a question to ask them. So when you're able to find somebody that you can actually legit talk to about a wide variety of things, and you're able to have deep conversations, because as introverts, we're all about having deep conversations. The fact that you can find that person, that's a keeper. So if you're able to find somebody that is, we'll say, quote unquote, out of your league, that you're able to have those kind of conversations with and have a good time with, and she's respectful of where you are, where you're at in your life, whether it's you're working towards having more money, or whether you're working towards a goal or dream of yours, or whether you're working towards starting a business, or even just working on your own self-person, whether it's like you're trying to get off drugs, or you're trying to get rid of your depression or whatever. Like, women will respect a guy like that and want to be with a guy like that more than a guy that's just trying to flaunt money. That's the thing. Most of these guys are here that have money. They're really just trying to use their money to buy off the fact that they don't have all this confidence. So they're using their money to buy trips and buy these, various jewelries and cars and houses for women, and pay their tuition and rent and all this other stuff. And they're thinking if I buy enough of this stuff for her, I'm going to be able to buy her affection. And a woman will stay around for that because, I mean, women that don't have a lot of dignity and self-worth will stay around for the free ride. But I wouldn't consider those out of league women. I'd consider those women that are gold diggers and that don't really care about you or people in general. They only care about themselves. And part of the reason I teach these tactics to you guys is not just to like trick women, but it's also because you need to have stuff in your arsenal to really figure out if the woman that you're going after actually is of high quality and actually is out of your league, or is like facading and really is another type of person. So yeah, that's why I say wait 4 days. That's why I say, you want to, make sure that you're able to say no to a woman if she comes to you in a certain way. You need to do these things to see what her reaction is going to be to really determine the quality of woman that you have. But you're not going to do that if you don't have confidence and if you're thinking that every woman you go out with is above you, So anything else in here? The dating world right now is crazy. It is. And I feel bad for people. I mean, I feel bad for myself at one time too, but I feel bad for people that because it's crazy in a sense that if you do not understand female psychology and male psychology also, then what's going to happen is, unbeknownst to you, guy, you're going to show a lot of signals and do a lot of things that are actually turning off women, and you won't have any idea why. And it gets even crazier because there's so many things out there that are going to tell you to do things for dating that actually are not effective. Not this show, clearly, but between movies, TV, between various advice columnists that give this preachy advice or give this advice where it's it's the advice of a lot of advice is given where it's they want the guy and the girl to ultimately work out, even if it's to the disadvantage of the guy. So for example, a guy write in and say something like, hey, my girlfriend's been cheating on me and I don't know how to handle it. And so my advice to the guy would be, you need to leave. But most people in most of these columns that I read will say stuff like, well, you first need to sit down with her and you really need to iron out why she did it in the first place. Maybe it was something that you weren't doing at home. Maybe she has a thing where her dad from back in the day was abusive and didn't pay attention to her. So she uses other guys as a means to get that attention. But really, if you guys just figure out what's going on, then everything will be okay and you can stay together. And the reality is you don't need to stay with every chick that you date. And the reality is there are some situations that'll come up that you don't need to stick around. And you need to have the confidence to be able to say, these are things that I accept. These are things that I don't accept. If any of these things over here that I don't accept happen, I'm out. And then when they happen, you got to be out. I remember there was a chick I dated at one time. And I told her early on, I said, I'm very much a straight shooter. What I say is what I say, what I mean is what I mean. So I don't do this thing where I'm going to say, hey, I'm not going to come over there tonight because you made me mad and then show up at your door. If I say I'm not coming over, I'm not coming over. So I said to her, so when we're dating, if you say some stuff that you're say we're having a fight or whatever, and you say well, I'm going to break up with you, I'm going to take that as gospel and be out. I'm not going to stick around and try to beg or this is that. So we came to a point where we've been kind of arguing, and I really wasn't feeling her at that point, but she sent me a text one day that was hey, so I think we should break up because things aren't blah, 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 blah. And I was kind of honestly, I was kind of wanting to get out of the relationship. So I texted back, literally, I said, okay. And that was it. As far as I know, she said the thing, boom. And then a week later, she's hitting me up talking about, well, we should meet up one more time to have one last hookup. And I was like, that's not going to happen. And then she was like, okay, we should meet up to have a lunch just to kind of talk out what happened. I'm again, in my head, I'm still but what talk is there to have? You text me that you didn't want to see me anymore. It's a wrap. So we meet up and she proceeds to tell me that, well, the reason she sent that text was because there had been some stuff going on and she'd wanted to talk about it, but she didn't know how much I cared. So she figured she would just send me a text saying that she wanted to break up. And then what I was supposed to do reaction wise is hit her back, say, no, I don't want to break up. What's wrong? How can we fix this? And then she would have come out and said, okay, well, these are things that are bugging me. We should talk about it. But I told her from day one that if she does something like that, I'm going to take her at her word and be out. So I had to be out. I said, I can't see you. I already told you what it was going to be. And so you have to be a man of your word and be confident and know what things that you need and don't need. Because if you're not, this kind of stuff can happen. Or like I said, you'll get with a woman that you think is out of your league and she'll feel that. and know she can just walk all over you. And you don't want that to happen either. All right. See, there's any more things here. So that's pretty much it. Like, I just wanted to really connect with you guys and let you understand that, like, again, my number one dating tip for dating women that are out of your league is that there are no women out of your league unless you think it. So really start working on the things you're telling yourself, the things that you think about yourself in your head. And that's the first place you need to go to get rid of this block that you have. Okay. Once it gets beyond that, then you can start learning tips and techniques that can better your shot at being able to confidently approach women that you feel are out of your league. And then what I find most of the time with women that, let's say they're women in the past that I thought were out of my league, I found that once I got into an actual conversation with them, I realized, like, oh, this is fine. Like, they're not out of my league at all. Like, yeah, they got more stuff going on per se, but in terms of like our day-to-day and how a relationship could function, this is fine. You know, and I've dated several women that were in higher paying positions that had jobs that paid a lot of money per year. And I'm doing my creative thing and building this business and stuff like that. And they still wanted to see me. And it's because, again, it's like, what's the confidence level? I'm a go-getter. I'm confident. I'm working on things consistently. I know how to, I know how to get money without having to have a 9-to-5 job, which in and of itself is an impressive skill. So there were other things that I was doing that were displaying the actual characteristics that women wanted. So work on figuring out what those characteristics are, figure out how to better yourself, figure out from there what things you can do, and then you'll have a better shot when you meet up with these women that you consider out of your league, at which point, hopefully, you will no longer see them as out of your league. All right? So hopefully that helps some of you guys out. Somebody down here in the comments just said, real women are not going to care for all that flash. Men that flash home money, etc., that's unattractive to me. It's so true. And actually, I have a friend of mine who's a model here in LA. And she told me a story one time about this guy that she met him on a dating app, and like they went on a first date, had a good time, but like the whole time he was trying to talk about all the money he had and all this stuff, whatever. And then like the next date, he was trying to fly her to Hawaii for a date. And I know there's guys out there that would think like, oh, she must have just jumped on that. She was like, no, like I just met dude, like what the heck's going on? But he was trying to buy her expensive dinners and trying to like take her to these fancy places and all this stuff because he's thinking this is the fastest way. Remember I told you guys is that a lot of guys don't have patience. They want to get from A to Z as fast as possible. And it's not like that. This is why I tell you guys, on average, it takes about 3 months to solidify a woman's feelings. And part of that is to help you understand and recognize that patience is key. You're not trying to do like 20 dates in 10 days. You're trying to spread that stuff out so she has time to miss you. So she has time to like really revel in the experience. So she has time to talk to her friends about you, to like all this other stuff that women need to do to really get your feelings. So yeah, so having to flash all this money and cars and clothes and jewelry and stuff like that, like, even at times where I've had a lot of money, I make it a point to still keep my dates the exact same because I do things the same for all women. I take them to like similar style restaurants that don't cost a lot of money. I take them on picnic dates and beach dates and movies and, try to do home cooking dates. Like none of this stuff costs money. This is all like about spending time with her and getting to know her, which is really what women want more so, because in terms of a long-term strategy for dating, they're going to have to like deal with that more so than how much money you're spending on them. Like you're not going to necessarily spend money on them every day, but you're going to talk to them every day and they're going to have to spend time with you every day. And what's that relationship like? Because if that's not good, then it's all for naught. So anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in to today's show. For more of these shows, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com. You can also go to protestparty.tv to catch these shows live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. If you are a guy that needs one-on-one coaching and want my help, you can go to the website and click on the coaching tab. If you have a topic that you'd like to see discussed on one of these shows, you can always join us in the chat stream, but you can also write to me personally at harrywilmington@gmail.com. Go to the website now to check out some of my ebooks. I got an ebook called No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. I got a book called Texting Like a Boss, which is basically the ins and outs of the right ways and wrong ways to text. I got a book about how to get your ex-girlfriend back, regardless of who broke up the relationship first. And of course, like I said, next Wednesday, I got a great program coming out called Smart Digital Dating. Again, I am very good at this online dating thing. And if you want to be good too, and you want my help on that, this program is going to spell out everything for you, all the tips, tricks, and strategies that I personally use to be able to get date after date with hot women on online dating and on phone app dating. And that's going to be next Wednesday, August 26th. So be on the lookout for that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I appreciate you guys that show up in the chat stream. I appreciate you guys that watch this on, the replays on YouTube and on Facebook and all that other stuff. You guys are really what makes this show run. And I'm always more than happy to answer your questions on one of these shows. So please, like I said, leave whatever things you want to talk about in the comments, leave it on the stream chat, and I look at all that stuff and try to figure out what shows to put together to best help you. All right. So that's all I got. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on Wednesday. All right. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Introvert Dating Success Podcast. Visit us at introvertdatingsuccess.com for more great tips on attracting women using your natural introvert charm. Oh, yeah.
Thank y'all so much for coming in. Thank y'all for joining us tonight on Kicking It with Kurt.
Thanks for tuning in to the Introvert Dating Success Show.
Welcome to our second edition of Diversity in Lighting.
Tonight's video is super off the cuff.
The first question of the day, plain and simple, is marriage hard?
We're going to be answering a question from a guy. His current girlfriend has been communicating with a toxic ex-boyfriend.
How do we get BIPOCs into these positions of power?
I want to talk about performative activism and why it's so harmful to the Black Lives Matter movement.
So let's dive in it, man.
Revolution. If you don't like what we're doing, if you don't want to rock with the NFAC, that's cool. Form your own militia.
There is a playbook for this shit. It's not like we have to create it from scratch just because now we're all digital.
We need people who are there on the computer and off of it. You have to be there for the good and the bad. You can't just be there when it's most convenient for you.
If they was really about what they was about, they would have been at all the formations.
But you need to make sure also that Black ideas and Black people creating culture get funded.
It's not just who we see on stage, it's those that they point to at their curtain call.
Listen, have the conversation, be humble, admit what mistakes were made.
These chat rooms can go, but this thing has me rolling. Somebody did say, what about them women who be proposing to their men? Should the men take their last name? Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you want to be a part of this fight, you're going to have to learn to be uncomfortable.